Here are the top stories for today, November 9, 2021. Recovery on track. The Philippine economy logs a 7.1% growth in the third quarter of this year amid increased business operations due to eased lockdown measures amid the pandemic. The country gets its biggest shipment so far of Russian Sputnik V jabs with 2.8 million doses. President Rodrigo Duterte calls on Filipinos anew to get the jabs to overcome the COVID-19 health crisis. Big switch. Presidential daughter Sara Duterte withdraws her bid for a third term as Davao City Mayor. She will be succeeded by incumbent Vice Mayor Baste Duterte, who also bowed out of the vice mayoralty race. And cleanup in the works, the MMDA starts desilting operations to get rid of the garbage island at the Parañaque River. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Philippine economy once again showed signs of recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic as the gross domestic product grew by 7.1% in the third quarter of the year. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported that economic output from July to September grew quicker than the 11.6% plunge in the same period last year. However, this quarter's GDP growth was slower compared to the 12% growth registered in the second quarter.
With the GDP growth of 7.1% in the third quarter of 2021, services contributed the highest with 5.2 percentage points. This was followed by industry, which contributed 2.1 percentage points to the GDP growth during the third quarter of 2021. Agriculture, forestry, and fishing contributed negatively with negative 0.2 percentage point during the period.
Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua says the 7.1% GDP growth proved that the government's health and economic strategy was correct. He said that in the third quarter, the Philippines contained COVID-19 Delta variant and sustained economic expansion even as rigid quarantine is in place. Chua believes that the economy will continue to fare better.
With strong third quarter growth and overall performance in 2021, we are on track to reach the high end of our 4 to 5% growth target for 2021. Year-to-date growth is currently at 4.9%. With adequate supply of vaccine doses, the government is further accelerating the vaccination program over the next few weeks. With current trends, we expect to achieve Alert Level 1 by the onset of the new year. To further sustain our growth this year and next year, further accelerate the vaccination program, reopen to Alert Level 1 in January 2022, and maximize the use of the 2021 budget.
President Rodrigo Duterte renewed his appeal to the Filipinos to get vaccinated to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic. The president made the appeal as he welcomed the arrival of more than 2.8 million doses of the Russian-made Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines last night. He also thanked the Russian government for facilitating the largest shipment so far of Sputnik V.
Let me express my gratitude to the Russian government for the continued supply of life-saving COVID-19 vaccines to the Philippines. These deliveries affirm Russia's commitment to achieve local vaccine equity and improving vaccine accessibility to countries, especially the Philippines. Rest assured that this administration is committed to securing safe and effective vaccines for all Filipinos. On this note, I appeal to all our kababayans to cooperate and do their part to help overcome this pandemic. The government cannot do this alone, and we need your active participation by getting vaccinated and strictly following the minimum health standards.
In Baguio City, Mayor Benjamin Magalong issued a directive requiring all public transport drivers to get vaccinated against COVID-19. This includes drivers of jeepneys, taxi cabs, vans, and buses, including those who are coming from other cities and provinces. Magalong said they have detected COVID-19 transmission through public transport.
Na kailangan natin i-require kasi they're dealing with the public, riding public. They have close contact every now and then, regularly, every day. So mabuti na safe sila to make our public safer.
More and more people are now willing to participate in the government's COVID-19 vaccination program. The latest SWS survey shows that 35%, or an estimated 25 million adult Filipinos, received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. This is equivalent to 42.7 million doses of administered vaccines, of which 17.7 million adults already received their second dose, and 7.3 million doses were used as the second dose at the time of the survey. Adults who get at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine were highest in Metro Manila, followed by Balanced Luzon, Mindanao, and the Visayas. Those who availed of the free jabs for at least one dose were highest among college graduates, followed by junior high school graduates, elementary graduates, and non-elementary graduates. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. cited the importance of having a continuous vaccination information drive to further address vaccine hesitancy.
Ang nakikita natin lang talaga ang importante magkaroon ng massive information drive dahil kasi based on sa survey, ang karamihan ng karamihan ng mga kababayan natin na hindi nagpapakuna ay misinformation. Kaya po nananawagan po kami sa lahat ng mga ating mga kababayan na ang ating mga bakunang ginagamit po ngayon, ng 8 portfolio po na ginagamit natin ngayon ay talagang effective po sa real world data, ay napaka-effective at saka very efficacious. So yun po ang inano po namin, na sana huwag kayo maniwala sa mga fake news, at the same time yung mga ginagawa ng mga anti-vaxxers na talagang kailangan natin magpabakuna. Nakita natin na bumagsak ang ating cases dahil napakataas ng ating pagbabakuna dito sa Metro Manila. Kaya po nananawagan po kami sa lahat ng mga ating mga kababayan na ang ating mga bakunang ginagamit po ngayon, ng 8 portfolio po na ginagamit natin ngayon, ay talagang effective po sa real world data, ay napaka-effective at saka very efficacious. So yun po ang inano po namin, na sana huwag kayo maniwala sa mga fake news, at the same time yung mga ginagawa ng mga anti-vaxxers na talagang kailangan natin magpabakuna. Nakita natin na bumagsak ang ating cases dahil napakataas ng ating pagbabakuna dito sa Metro Manila.
Almost 30 million Filipinos are now fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Data from the National COVID-19 Vaccination Dashboard shows that the Philippines has administered 64,195,936 doses of COVID-19 vaccines. A total of 29,477,961 Filipinos so far are fully vaccinated. The country's average daily vaccination rate during the last 7 days stood at 697,025 doses. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said they are currently addressing the vaccine storage capacity in more areas in the country to be able to receive more supply of the highly sensitive brands such as Pfizer, Moderna, and Sputnik V.
Ay gusto natin yung mga bakuna na yun ay hindi mapanis. So ang nangyayari, yung ating mga different municipalities, parang ang ginagawa nila, gusto nilang delivery yung just in time, para at least kasi limited lang yung capacity nila. So ngayon nagka-capacity tayo, maganda at nagbigay ng donation ng US ng 40 cold chain refrigerators. So ito dinidistribute na natin sa mga different power plant areas, and hopefully by this week and next week tataas na yung ating capacity, and at the same time tataas na rin ang ating administration this coming 2 weeks na darating.
Still to come, the palace warns local government units hit the brakes on lifting the mandatory use of face shields for now. And some 100,000 jobs are back as Metro Manila shifts to the more relaxed Alert Level 2. Details ahead. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
ang disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado. Kaya tayo na po't magparehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bansa. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here, and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on-site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Davao City Mayor Sara has withdrawn her candidacy from the mayoralty race. In a Facebook post this afternoon, the presidential daughter said her brother Sebastian Baste Duterte will replace her for the said position. Baste Duterte in turn will be substituted by the newly appointed Chief Presidential Legal Counsel, Attorney Melchor Quintain Jr. Mayor Sara has no announcement yet if she will seek another elective post. Malacanang said the law that created the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program should be amended before implementing the proposed no vaccine, no subsidy for its beneficiaries amid the COVID-19 pandemic. This after the Department of the Interior and local government proposed to exclude unvaccinated 4-piece beneficiaries from receiving cash subsidies to address the vaccine hesitancy. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque said Republic Act 11310, also known as the 4-Piece Act, says who is entitled to 4-piece. RA 11310 provides cash grants to qualified Filipino households below the poverty line. Roque said the no vaccine, no subsidy policy will remain a suggestion that the Department of Social Welfare and Development should study further. Interior spokesperson Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya said only 12% of some 4.4 million 4-piece beneficiaries have been vaccinated. And on the other hand, Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara clarified that 4-piece beneficiaries will not be disqualified even if they are not yet vaccinated against COVID-19. Guevara reminded that under Republic Act 11525 or the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act, the vaccine card shall not be considered an additional mandatory requirement for educational, employment, and other similar government transactions. Malacanang said the use of face shields in select areas will remain mandatory until the Interagency Task Force issues a finalized guideline on the matter. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque appealed to the local government units to wait for the IATF's decision regarding the removal of face shields as additional protection against COVID-19 infection. He reminded the mayors that they are still under the control and supervision of the President and they should follow the chain of command. President Rodrigo Duterte previously approved the recommendation to limit the use of face shields to close and crowded places as people were no longer required to wear this outdoors. Meanwhile, the Metro Manila Council said it is set to recommend the lifting of mandatory wearing of face shields in non-critical areas. MMC and Metropolitan Manila Development Authority Chair Benjamin Abalos Jr. said face shields will remain mandatory in areas such as hospitals, health centers, and public utility vehicles. Amid efforts to inoculate more people against COVID-19, health officials in Negros Oriental are set to hold house-to-house and in-campus vaccinations. More on this from Marita Mawahe.
Health authorities in Negros Oriental are gearing up to begin its house-to-house and campus-based vaccination against COVID-19 in efforts to ramp up the inoculation of residents. Assistant Provincial Health Officer Dr. Leland Estacion said they are awaiting the final approval of Silliman University, which coordinated with the provincial government for the on-site vaccination of students. On the other hand, house-to-house vaccination will be the responsibility of the local government units. About 3,000 to 5,000 people are vaccinated in Negros Oriental daily out of the Department of Health's target of 25,000 vaccinees per day. In Bacolod City, the city government will allocate COVID-19 vaccines for the 12 to 17 years old age group in all 27 barangay-based vaccination centers starting next week. The Emergency Operations Center Task Force said they are going full blast in the inoculation of minors following the wide acceptance and high turnout in the administration of Pfizer jobs since the launch on October 29. The Sangguniang Kabataan Federation and DepEd City Schools Division have committed to help in the master listing of pediatric age groups to reach as many minors as possible. In Zamboanga City, the City Health Office has opened 5 more vaccination centers as the inoculation for children with comorbidities and the rest of the pediatric population officially rolled out Monday. The pediatric vaccination centers are situated at the Zamboanga Chongwa High School, Zamboanga City Medical Center, KCC Mall de Zamboanga, SM City MindPro, and Zamboanga Peninsula Medical Center. On October 29, the CHO inoculated 6 children with comorbidities for its pediatric A3 vaccination opening ceremony at the ZCMC. The city government earlier set a total eligible target of over 694,000 individuals for its vaccination campaign here. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
With a further lowering of the alert level in the National Capital Region, some 100,000 jobs are expected to return to the labor market. In a palace briefing, Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said around 1.8 million jobs were affected since the NCR was placed under the most stringent community quarantine status in early July. Around 100,000 of these jobs have not yet returned before Alert Level 2. Metro Manila was initially placed under Alert Level 3 until November 14. Lopez, meantime, said observing the public health standards will also prevent another surge in COVID-19 cases, and the Alert Level 2 can be maintained until next year. The trade chief said Alert Level 1 may be expected as daily cases go down, which means more economic activities and jobs will be allowed to return. More stories from the newsroom. The MMDA moves to clean up the garbage island at the mouth of the Parañaque River. And some 150 athletes will join the Paragames online chess competition. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Kung customer ka, pupuntahan mo ba yung mukhang safe naman o yung certified na safe? Ang safety seal ay patunay na certified safe ang iyong business dahil nasusunod ang minimum public health standards. Meron din itong QR code para mapadali ang contact tracing. Ito ay libre lang. Pero, kailangang i-renew every 6 months or every year kung nasa tourism sector ang iyong business. Kung meron ka ng mga documents na ito, pwede ka na mag-apply para sa Safety Seal Certification. May iba-ibang office para sa iba't ibang klase ng mga negosyo. Pag na-determine nyo na ang issuing authority, simple lang ang steps para makuha ang safety seal. Pumunta sa office ng issuing authority o sa kanilang website. kumuha ng safety seal checklist at magsagawa ng self-assessment para sa iyong business. I-submit ang checklist at abangan ang inspection schedule. Pag na-approve ang application, bibigyan kayo ng safety seal sticker. Pag hindi naman na-approve, sasabihin kung anong health standard ang hindi nasunod at bibigyan kayo ng pagkakataong ayusin ito. Pag nakuha na ang safety seal, ipaskil ito sa may entrance para makita agad ng mga customer. Pwede nyo rin ipagmalaki na certified safe kayo sa inyong mga social media pages. Paalala lamang, ang isang safety seal ay para sa isang branch lang. Siguraduhin bawat branch mo ay certified safe. Siguraduhin din na nasusunod palagi ang minimum public health standards dahil baka mabawi ang iyong certification. Maaring mag-operate kahit na walang safety seal. Pero hindi ba mas mahalagang kampante ang mga customer sa loob ng iyong negosyo? Kaya kumuha na ng safety seal para ingat-angat tayong lahat.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has vowed to remove the so-called garbage island at the mouth of the Parañaque River as part of the agency's flood control measures. MMDA Chair Benjamin Abalos Jr. said it would take about 3 to 4 months to destroy the island, made up of about 26,000 cubic meters of garbage and silt. He noted that shanties have already been constructed on the island and are used as a resting place by fishermen. He warned that the island's waste will be toxic to the community and surrounding waters. Meanwhile, Abalos asked the public to help in cleaning Metro Manila by disposing of their garbage responsibly and reporting clogged waterways. To date, he said there are 30 trash nets installed in canals and esteros throughout Metro Manila that are being cleared every 3 days to avoid damage to pumping stations. Barangay Banago in Bacolod City has received various benefits under the Barangay Development Program of the National Task Force to end local communist armed conflict. As of Monday, at least 313 residents were granted medical, burial, and educational assistance from a portion of the village's 20 million peso funding provided by the BDP. Beneficiaries of educational assistance including college, senior high, and junior high school students who each got cash assistances of 10,000, 6,000, and 3,000 pesos respectively. Barangay Banago will also use the BDP funding for the construction of a multi-purpose evacuation center, aside from providing burial assistance, medical assistance, livelihood program, and training assistance. Barangay Banago is among the 26 insurgency-cleared villages in Negros Occidental, or once under the influence of the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army, or CPP-NPA. The BDP is directed to rehabilitate and develop 822 barangays that were formerly guerrilla fronts of the CPP-NPA National Democratic Front in the countryside. In sports, over 150 para-athletes across the country are set to compete in the 2021 Philippine Sports Commission Pilipinas Para Games online chess competition. The event seeks to address the need to train and harness the potential of para-athletes through a comprehensive grassroots sports development program. The PPG is in partnership with the Philippine Paralympic Committee and the Integrated Philippine Association of Optometrists on the classification of registered para-athletes. Competition starts on November 19 via Zoom and will conclude on November 21. Registered para-athletes can compete and send their requirements to filipinasparagames@gmail.com and its official Facebook page. Official lists of participants will be announced on November 12. The government seeks to extend help in all forms to survivors of the Marawi siege through a program addressing their psychosocial and economic needs. More on this from Claire Gighe.
Marawi City has faced the aftermath of the clash between the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or ISIS-inspired Dawla Islamiyah group, and the government group 4 years ago. As such, The place is visibly challenged, with its battle area left clamoring for rehabilitation and most of all impacted citizens needing support. Among those involved during the siege were the hostages of the Maute brothers and their combatants, wherein others were killed and some escaped and survived. These survivors now, years after, is still calling for help for their total healing and recovery. The Duyug Marawi, in partnership with the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process or OPAP, hosted another psychosocial support session under its Holistic Integrated Liberation of Marawi or HILOM program to look further into the current situation of the Marawi siege hostage survivors. The session ran for 5 days beginning November 3 until November 7, covering 50 participants, all from the Ligan cluster.
An updating of where they are in terms of their healing and their livelihood, because dalawa man yung thrust ng HILOM, yung recovery of their health and their life and their economic recovery. We will try to see how we can further help them bridge the gap between what the government can provide and what they need.
OPAP Region 10 Area Manager James Ali Abdul affirmed that such an effort indeed commenced in 2017 when the office also initiated to closely collaborate with its partners, including the Duyug Marawi. Barnido said since the inception of the initiative, they have seen the concern on how to enlist such survivors as beneficiaries of the government's assistance, which was focused on internally displaced persons who are residents in Marawi City, and as he maintained that these people are also victims of the siege who were greatly impacted. Accordingly, the OPAP offered to find means so that the government can help these potential beneficiaries. As the task force, Bangon Marawi conveyed it will do its best to find available sources to respond to the addressed need. Currently, the hostage survivors are given the commitment and assurance to be guided in their ongoing internal liberation, as the HILOM program assumes that even if they were already rescued, the trauma remains.
We told them from the beginning that this is going to be a long journey that we're going to go through. And the church provided us with help and resources. Because of that, we will remain committed until they will claim that we don't need help anymore, no? Until they will feel na okay.
For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gigha of the Philippine Information Agency, Ligan City and Lanao del Norte.
Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Recovery on track. The Philippine economy logs a 7.1% growth in the third quarter of this year amid increased business operations due to eased lockdown measures amid the pandemic. The country gets its biggest shipment so far of Russian Sputnik V jabs with 2.8 million doses. President Rodrigo Duterte calls on Filipinos anew to get the jabs to overcome the COVID-19 health crisis. Big switch. Presidential daughter Sara Duterte withdraws her bid for a third term as Davao City Mayor. She will be succeeded by incumbent Vice Mayor Baste Duterte, who also bowed out of the vice mayoralty race. And cleanup in the works, the MMDA starts desilting operations to get rid of the garbage island at the Parañaque River. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To know more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it is 46 more days before Christmas. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day. Stay safe, everyone.